Freshwater wetlands of Central Florida are relatively small, mostly isolated, and widely distributed, but are a dominant feature of the landscape, numbering in the thousands. The relatively small and large number of freshwater wetlands present challenges for characterizing these wetlands collectively as a statewide water resource. Because they are so varied, wetlands can be difficult to recognize. Some are wet all of the time. Some may look completely dry most of the time. Our ideas of what a wetland should look like may not include all types of wetlands. Some wetlands are large and some are very small. Many have been altered by human activities such as farming, ranching, and the building of roads, dams, and towns. Wetlands are areas where water covers the soil or is present either at or near the surface of the soil all year or for varying periods of time during the year, including during the growing season. Water saturation, or hydrology, largely determines how the soil develops and the type of plant and animal communities living in and on the soil. Inland wetlands are most common on floodplains along rivers and streams and isolated depressions surrounded by dry land, for example, playas, basins, and potholes along the margins of lakes and ponds and in other low-lying areas where the groundwater intercepts the soil surface or where precipitation sufficiently saturates the soil, such as vernal pools and bogs. Inland wetlands include marshes and wet meadows dominated by herbaceous plants, swamps dominated by shrubs, and wooded swamps dominated by trees. Some wetlands store water in a wet time of the year, releasing the water later into nearby aquifers or underground streams and recharging the groundwater that supplies us with drinking water. Wetlands help purify water by processing nutrients, suspended materials, and other pollutants. Wetlands also increase the availability of water by absorbing and adding water in wet seasons, then gradually releasing it during dry periods. Wetlands also act as powerful sponges that can soak up huge amounts of excess water from rainfalls. This helps to prevent flooding. Known as nature's kidneys, wetlands help purify and filter water that passes through them. For these reasons, wetlands are very important to Florida's water supply. Wetlands perform the same function for our ecosystem as kidneys do for our bodies. They filter and remove pollutants. However, the nutrient filtering capability of wetlands can be exceeded if they receive too many nutrients. They also provide critical recharge of the groundwater, the major source of potable water in Florida. Wetlands have important filtering capabilities for intercepting surface water runoff from higher dry land before the runoff reaches open water. As the runoff passes through, the wetlands retain excess nutrients and some pollutants and reduce sediment that would clog waterways and affect fish and amphibian egg development. In performing this filtering function, wetlands save us a great deal of money. For example, a 1990 study showed that without the Congaree bottomwater hardwood swamp in South Carolina, the area would need a $5 million wastewater treatment plant. Wetlands help regulate water levels within watersheds, improve water quality, reduce flood and storm damages, provide important fish and wildlife habitat, and support hunting, fishing, and other recreational activities. In addition to improving water quality through filtering, some wetlands maintain stream flow during dry periods and replenish groundwater. Many Americans depend on groundwater for drinking. Freshwater wetlands are unique and complex ecosystems defined by characteristic properties. Wetlands usually have standing water during at least part of the year, although water depth can vary from a few inches to as much as several feet from one wetland to another. The hydraulic behavior of wetlands is influenced by drainage basin characteristics, as well as by natural variations in climate. Wetlands in central Florida, especially forested wetlands, often have acidic waters that are darkly stained from organic substances released by decomposing leaves and other plant material. Wetlands are characterized by biogeochemical cycles in which vital elements such as carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and others are transformed as they move between wetland soils and sediments, the open water, and the atmosphere. Wetlands are populated with plants that can thrive under conditions of saturated soils and low dissolved oxygen concentrations. The bottoms of many wetlands, especially marshes, are covered with decayed plant material that can accumulate over time to form brown peat or black muck soils. Wetlands are inhabited by animals that need standing water to complete some or all of their life cycles, and they also provide periodic food, water, and shelter for many other animals that spend most of their lives on dry land. The complex and interrelated components of wetlands directly affect one another, and there are numerous feedback mechanisms. Wetlands provide food and shelter to countless types of fish, birds, reptiles, and mammals. Many types of endangered species, including 45% of the animals and 26% of the plants on the federal list of threatened or endangered species, depend directly or indirectly on wetlands. For many years, wetlands were seen as useless swamps and were frequently filled, drained, polluted, or used for dumping grounds. Wetlands have often been regarded as wastelands, sources of mosquitoes, flies, and unpleasant odors and disease. People thought of wetlands as a place to avoid, or better yet, eliminate. Largely because of this negative view, more than half of America's original wetlands have been destroyed, drained, and converted to farmland, filled for housing development and industrial facilities, or used to dispose of household industrial waste.